Early voting. Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Hey folks, today is Monday, October 21st, 2024, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. I'm live in Dallas, Texas, here at Friendship West Baptist Church, one of the early voting sites here in Dallas County. We're going to show you long lines happening all day. Also, some computer issues caused delays all across the county. And so you'll hear from Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. Also, we'll be chatting with Reverend Frederick Douglass Haynes III, pastor of Friendship West Baptist Church. We'll be also chatting with officials all across the county and the state, getting a sense of what's happening today. Again, today, the first day of early voting here in Texas. Also, today's show, Vice President Kamala Harris, who was actually in Wisconsin, sitting down with Republicans, Liz Cheney and others, as they are making the case for her to be the 47th president of the United States. Donald Trump continues to tout he wants to give police 100% immunity. We'll tell you about that as well. Also, Vice President Harris was in Atlanta yesterday at New Birth Baptist Church with Pastor Jamal Bryant. We'll show you some of what took place as well, as they also celebrated her 60th birthday. Folks, lots to talk about. It's time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network, live in Texas. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling.
Folks, Roland Martin here. I'm live in Dallas, Texas, where today is the first day of early voting all across Texas. I'm standing here at Friendship West Baptist Church, one of the early voting locations here in Texas. I'm going to step aside now, guys. Don't go to that video yet. Don't go to that video yet, please. Don't go to that video yet. Okay, pull out, come back. So here we go. I'm going to step aside. So as you see, folks are still in line. This has been the case since polls opened this morning. There's been a steady stream of folks in line here at Friendship West Baptist Church. But this has been the case all over Dallas County. Earlier, I traveled to 5 different early voting locations. This was one of them with Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. And so so again, folks have been in lines, turning out. We saw what happened, of course, when early voting kicked off in Pennsylvania, in Michigan. First of all, Pennsylvania, then of course in Georgia, record numbers there as well. And so now Texas has the opportunity. Of course, Vice President Harris is running behind Donald Trump here in Texas. You've got a seriously contested U.S. Senate race between Senator Ted Cruz, Congressman Colin Allred. That is happening as we speak. And so earlier you had an opportunity to go to Disciple Church at one of the early voting sites. Guys, go ahead and run that video. And of course, I got a chance to also chat with some folks in line. So let's go ahead and, so yeah, that's Disciple Church right there. And so go ahead and just turn that audio up. We'll see what folks had to say at that location. Hey, what's happening? What's happening? Hey, what's going on? What's happening? Hey, how you doing? Hey, what's going on? What's happening? What's going on? Good, good. Y'all all the way back here. Now, while I was there, I chatted in line. I also got a chance to talk to some of those folks, and they shared their thoughts about today's first day of early voting. The voting. What you got? Why you out here?
Roland, I'm out here to vote, to make sure my vote counts.
And what do y'all say to the brothers who considering sitting at home on the couch?
You doing your whole country. You doing the people that look like you a disservice. Being a father, a girl dad of 2, I'm voting for my daughter's freedom Productions. You know, she should have. You know, my daughter should have the right to make their own decision about their body, not no government. And that's why I'm out here voting.
All right then. Y'all here in line.
We're here in line to vote. It's important that you go out and vote because every vote counts, especially for Sister Harris.
All right. What you got?
Time to vote for Miss Kamala Harris.
I'm voting straight Kamala Harris and her Vice Presidential and all down the line.
All righty. Cool. What you got?
I'm here in line. I refuse to go back. Shucks and pearls all day.
All right. All right then.
We got this.
All right.
Just vote.
Get out and vote.
All right.
Get out and vote.
That's it.
Do it early.
That's it.
Let's vote.
All right. What you got to say about voting?
Hey, we all should do it. We got to get it.
We got to turn out. We got to turn out. Everyone has to turn out and make sure this election go right. We're going to make a difference. We're going to make a difference.
Ready to get you a new hat to say 47? Harris?
As soon as we get in.
We're trying to make every vote count. I'm here for that.
Look at this, even Omega's voting. Even Omega's voting.
We know what time it is. And we always vote. We try to get first in line, but we can't always get in the front.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's Alpha's already in front.
I hear him. I knew he was going to take
we were here at 8 o'clock, so.
You was here at 8 o'clock.
We here. I'm a Delta and we're here.
All right.
See, even my sisters are here.
All right.
Yes. Delta's have it.
All right.
Ready to vote.
Yeah. All right. Any thoughts? Anybody wants? You got warrants or something? Why you ducking? Why you ducking? Are you ready to vote, brother?
Yeah, I'm ready to vote.
All right.
Yeah.
And looks like you said so things have been on and popping since early this morning.
Hey man, as soon as they opened up, they came out and they've been doing it ever since. It hadn't slowed down yet.
Gotcha. So how does it make you feel to see folk coming out on this first day?
You know what? It makes me feel proud. I mean, one thing I can say about this southern section of Dallas County, they come out and vote, and today I think they've taken it to a whole nother level, and it's needed. And so I'm excited about it.
And also, lots of brothers in line.
A whole lot of brothers in line. I hope the brothers do the thing and do what they're supposed to do in line. So we're glad about that too.
All right, I appreciate it. I get ready to vote, huh?
Yes, sir.
All right, and you said how old is she?
88.
And you got your Kamala shirt. Let me zoom in on that.
I want everybody to see this.
All right.
Her name is Esther Boston.
Esther Boston?
Esther Boston.
All right then. So Esther, I was talking to a woman in North Carolina. She was 89, and she said, I never thought I'd see a woman president. She said, I got to vote.
Right. And that's why I'm wearing my shirt. Let everybody know I am voting for her.
All right then.
We got her back.
All right. Y'all take care.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Again, that was some of the folks who were here in Dallas County. Joining me right now, though, is Tarrant County Commissioner Lisa Simmons. She traveled over here to chat with us. Step right on in here. Commissioner, come on, step in right here. There you go. All right, then. So glad to see you. What's the latest? How do things go today in Tarrant County?
Tarrant County, so far, so good. We have lines out the door at most polling locations, so it is busy. As of right this moment, we have exceeded the first day, election day numbers in Tarrant County.
Really?
Yes, so I think the first day in 2020 was 50,000. We're at 58,000.
What about the black parts of Tarrant County?
Well, I've got to get the breakdown for all of those, so I do not have those right at this moment.
Now, you also got some big races there. One of the things that we've been focused on, obviously, sheriff's race.
Yes.
Y'all have had some serious problems with your jail there.
Yes.
Folks dying in the jail, so that's one you're paying attention, a lot of attention to.
Yes, I need a new sheriff. Our sheriff is deadly, and if people aren't paying attention, we have a MAGA sheriff, and he is deadly. He does not know. He has two things to do constitutionally. That is run the jail and patrol the unincorporated areas, and he's not doing either of those well.
What else are you looking at this year?
I am selfish, so I'm looking at the county level. There is a woman in South Lake, Colleyville, Northeast Tarrant County. It's going to be a hard road to hoe, but if we could get Laura Lehman elected, then that would change the trajectory of this county. But we've got state races, state representative races that are have razor thin margins. And if people just turn out to vote, we could win those races. We don't have to ask anybody for anything anymore.
And then, of course, what that does is if you have those state representative races, then what you're also doing is you're changing the dynamics of the Texas legislature.
Absolutely. And so I can contact my state reps and say, hey, this is what we need at the county level, instead of getting pushback. Pushback, MAGA politics injected at the county level, and of course the state level.
Are you seeing groups on the ground turning folks out, doing lots of door knocking, lots of canvassing?
Yes, I am so proud of the Tarrant County Young Democrats. They have gotten out there, and they're young people, and they're doing the work. They're on the phones, they're on the doors, and so that's what we need to see. I was at the University of Texas at Arlington this morning because, as you'll recall, it was my county, the Republicans initially on my county commissioner's court that wanted to eliminate polling places on the college campuses. And so we were able to defeat that. And so I wanted to go out to UT Arlington this morning, and yes, there were lines out the door. We need polling places on college campuses.
Absolutely.
Can't take them away, especially in the districts like mine, Precinct 2 and Precinct 1, Roy Brooks. We have the largest number of minorities in our precinct. So why?
Well, but that's also why they're taking away.
That's why they're taking
let's
away.
be real clear. It's
they
happening
wanted
all
to take
across
away TCUs, but then they they looked, and then they thought, no, we'll keep the one at TCU.
Yeah, lots of white students at TCU.
Yes.
There you go.
But we ended up with all of our campus polling places this year. I'll have the same fight next year.
Mm-hmm.
So, but people need to get out and vote. Vote local, vote all the way down the ballot. You can call Elisa. You cannot call Kamala or Donald when you need something.
Mm-hmm.
But you can call your local people. And so folks need to vote all the way down the ballot.
County commissioners, your state rep, your state senate,
your constable,
all those folks.
Your justice of the peace, yes.
All right, well, we certainly appreciate it. Keep up the good fight there, and we'll track to see how this happens before early voting ends.
We need a new sheriff in Tarrant County.
Oh, I agree. All right,
you.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
All right, folks, again, we're here in Dallas County. So we're going to go to a break. We come back. We're going to talk to State Senator Royce West, Pastor Frederick Douglass Haynes III, Senior Pastor here at Friendship West Baptist Church. We're here from Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. And so lots to talk about on our show. We got our panel as well. So you know how we do it. It's a lot going on. We'll be right back on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Story Network back in a moment.
Was that y'all blowing the damn horn?
IVF is a miracle for us because it allowed us to have our family. After having my daughter, I wanted more children, but my embryo transfer was canceled 8 days before the procedure. Donald Trump overturning Roe v. Wade stopped us from growing the family that we wanted. I don't want politicians telling me how or when I can have a baby. We need a president that will protect our rights, and that's Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris.
Bob and I both voted for Donald Trump.
I voted for him twice. I won't vote for him again. January 6th was a wake-up call for me.
Donald Trump divides people. We've already seen what he has to bring.
He didn't do anything to help us. Kamala Harris, she cares about the American people. I think she's got the wherewithal to make a difference. I've never voted for a Democrat.
Yes, we're both lifelong Republicans.
The choice is very simple.
I'm voting for Kamala.
I am voting for Kamala Harris.
Trump is not fit to be president again. Here's his vice president.
Anyone who puts themselves over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. It should come as no surprise that I will not be endorsing Donald Trump this year.
His defense secretary.
Do you think Trump can be trusted with the nation's secrets ever again?
No. I mean, it's just irresponsible action that places our service members at risk, places our nation's security at risk.
His national security advisor.
Donald Trump will cause a lot of damage. The only thing he cares about is Donald Trump.
And the nation's highest-ranking military officer.
We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
Take it from the people who knew him best. Donald Trump is a danger to our troops and our democracy. We can't let him lead our country again.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Carl Payne pretended to be Roland Martin. Holla!
You ain't got to wear black and gold every damn place, okay? Ooh, I'm an alpha, yay! All right, you're 58 years old. It's over.
And you are now watching
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable.
All right, folks, welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered. We're here at Friendship West Baptist Church in Dallas, Texas. 90 minutes left before the polls close for the day. Joining us right now is Pastor Frederick Douglass Haynes III, Senior Pastor here. It's been busy all day.
It's been awesome. And, of course, it kicked off yesterday. I need y'all to know about my frat brother, Roland Martin, that he has a job, a good job. He owns the whole business, but he also wants to pastor a church. He preached here at Friendship West yesterday. He preached at Friendship West yesterday, and people were texting me. I'm at Howard University trying to handle business.
At Howard Homecoming.
And Roland Martin preaches in such a way that people are saying, give him his license and ordination and installation right now. So I just need y'all to know, Roland is trying to get another job. Tell him we need him doing this. But very seriously, man.
First of all, let me tell y'all what really happened. I called Fred and say, hey, let's do a GOTV event in Dallas. And then he was like, oh, that's great. You can do the 10 o'clock service. And he's just talking. And I was like, what did you just say? So he just slid that in. You know, I'm being ranking, so that works perfectly. You can come in, do 10 o'clock, and everything be good. And I was like, I know he didn't just do that. I'm like, yeah, I'll go ahead and handle it. So You know, that's what happened.
And it worked. It worked because the beautiful thing is he preached powerful message.
It was all good.
Thank you. From Deborah to Kamala, and then the peeps came out. And today we are setting records in terms of voter turnout. It's been over 1,000 right here at Friendship West today. My boy Marcus King at DC3 Church. Again, over 1,000 there. So the people are turning out. And I can't tell you how many were basically inspired by what you shared yesterday. And so I think that's very important that we got a running start. And we've had a number of our local elected officials, Divine Nine, organizing to make sure that we bank the vote and get it out early. And so that's why today has been so hot, because the message is bank the vote. Go ahead and get it in today.
It's been hot, but it's also been a little slow. I got caught up with Dallas County Commissioner John Wiley Price over at the MLK Center in Dallas. He told me that, so this new computer system, they upgraded to the gold package. He said, but the problem is the new computers are slower than the old computers. So that's a vendor problem. And it wasn't just in the black areas of Dallas County. It was all over Dallas County. And that was a problem today. So they're also trying to get that fixed. And so that's also one of the reasons why lines were taking so long. I actually stood in line to vote here, and it was an hour. And they got 25 machines in there, so it should have been a lot faster. But unfortunately, that's the issue that's happening with the vendor. One of the things that you've really been focusing on, and you put a video together, and they sent to me earlier, where you had a message specifically for black men, and you had some critical comments. We ain't even gonna mention them fools' name, but you had these two ignorant former NFL players supporting Trump, just insulting Vice President Kamala Harris. You got Lord Jamar, this rapper. He made some comments after he got a lot of pushback. Then he apologizes after doubling down on it, and that's what's, to me, what's insulting when you got black men. And as you said, y'all got black mamas, black sisters, black aunts, and black nieces, but you're gonna say this about a sister in support of without a doubt, a white nationalist, white supremacist in Donald Trump.
Exactly, and again, they have black mamas who they need to apologize. They have black teachers who help them to get wherever it is they are. And I'm concerned that CTE has taken such an effect on them, infecting their minds, that they would say something insulting that I would never say about a woman, period, but especially a black woman. But I don't want to give attention to them, as you said, because you got too many brothers out here who are doing the thing. You have too many.
There was a lot of brothers who were in line today.
Come on, bro.
Young brothers too.
Come on, young brothers too. Young brothers representing our Divine Nine fraternities, and young brothers who are basically saying there's a narrative out there where we are being blamed for something that ain't true, number one, because we're still going to be the number 2 demographic, at least when it comes to supporting the Democratic ticket and the sister at the top of the Democratic ticket. So we're going to be number 2. And so the question is, why are we going in on black men but not white men, not white women? Black men are going to show up in good numbers. They're already doing it. And again, I was at Howard yesterday. Young brothers at Howard told me, on top of young brothers, I don't know why they're talking down to us like that. And thank you for what you said about one former president who was talking down with the wrong tone and the wrong message. Young brothers at Howard are saying, don't talk down to us, just engage us. We have an agenda too. At Howard, they're saying, we have an agenda. We just want to have our agenda addressed. And what has Kamala Harris been doing? She's been addressing an agenda for black men.
So
we're going to show up.
I was on ABC. I did MSNBC, actually did ABC and MSNBC from the church yesterday.
After preaching.
And they were asking me about it. And I said, first of all, hold up, y'all. She ain't new to this.
Come on.
I had to remind them that Vice President Harris sat with there was a dinner in November 2023. I said, she had an opportunity agenda. She went all around the country. I said, y'all just weren't covering it.
That's right.
I said, so don't act like she's just talking about a black agenda and issues related to black men. I said, she's been doing that really the whole presidency. I said, but definitely over the past 10 months. I said, y'all simply haven't been covering it.
Thank you. And see, that is why what you do is so important, because you've been covering this. The so-called dominant media they choose what they want to cover. So they want to cover black men disparaging her. They want to cover black men not voting for her. They don't want to cover the fact that this is something she ain't new to it.
No,
she's
she was
true
in Atlanta
to it.
twice for the opportunity
Thank you.
deal. She was in Detroit. She was in Charlotte. I was there in Atlanta. I was there in Detroit.
Yeah.
And so she's been there. We covered those events.
Right.
So to act like it didn't happen to me is just nuts.
It's nuts, and it's again a reflection of the fact the mainstream media chooses what they want to cover and what they don't want to cover. And for them, it makes news to say black men ain't supporting a black woman.
You also got a huge race here in Texas. You've got a U.S. Senate race with Senator Ted Cruz, Congressman Colin Allred.
Right.
That's also a major issue. Then, of course, you've got the congressional races. But really, you know, the thing that I keep saying, first of all, we're in a state that has the largest number of eligible black voters in all of America.
In the country.
And what I keep saying on this show and everywhere I go, if black people voted our numbers, if we hit at least 70% of our eligible voters, we sweep elections.
It's over. It's over.
If we hit 70,
right?
If you hit 70% in Fort Worth, and then in Dallas, and then in Houston, and all across the country, all of a sudden you're talking about thousands upon thousands of votes. You change races, and you change the makeup of the legislature. Republicans would not have a supermajority. You change the makeup of the House. You would have Hakeem Jefferson, Speaker of the House. And you would have more black folks elected statewide as United States senators.
That it changes the game. You're going to be interviewing an Omega later on, Royce West. He's been telling us this around the state of Texas. We have more eligible black voters than any state in the country. That changes the game. Imagine if Texas goes blue. Texas, Royce West says, is
used to be blue.
Thank you. Ann Richards.
Used to be completely
Lloyd
blue.
Benson, If Texas goes blue, it changes the electoral college makeup. All we have to do is organize and mobilize and energize the black voting base here in Texas, and all of a sudden, they ain't talking about Georgia, they're talking about Texas. And so what we have to do is energize a base and let them know Texas is not a red state, it's a voter-suppressed state, and that's a big difference.
Well, of course, when you had Beto O'Rourke, who ran against Greg Abbott in 2022, 75% of all voters 30 and under did not vote. 75%.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Again, they vote, election changes.
Yeah, they vote. But again, when you're changing the rules midway, when you have the 2021 session in Texas that basically targets, we're going to make sure Harris County can't do what they've been doing. We're going to make sure that Harris County can no longer vote long after the hours when people are still in line.
Stop the 24-hour voting.
Come on, Doc.
And in fact, I was talking to someone earlier, they literally changed the voting hours for Dallas and Harris County and not the other 250 counties.
Thank you. Because again, it's not a red state. It's a suppressed voting state. And so what we have to do then, if they're going to play that game, we got to play chess ourselves and organize, mobilize, and do what we, again, tried to do with you yesterday, having you here, getting us out. And if we spread this around the state, it's a wrap.
Well, let's do this here. So you're going to switch microphones with this late Omega, State Senator Royce West. Y'all go ahead and switch microphones. We're going to bring him on. So when y'all heard me interviewing Commissioner from Tarrant County, of course, that loud honking horn, that was his horn.
That was Royce West.
He wanted everybody to know he was here. So it's like, okay, we know you here. Come on. Come on.
All right, my brothers.
Come on.
All right, my brothers.
Here you go. You need some help me put this on? I mean, you are on the elder.
I know she getting a little gray hair.
Put it on your other pocket. Well, first of all, don't be mad. Don't be mad.
I know she's getting some gray hair.
Don't be mad. This is sexy gray. Don't be mad. I know.
This what?
I know. You can't grow that in. You can't grow that in.
No, I don't need to.
You can't grow that in.
I'm already sexy.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever. All right, y'all. State Senator Royce West. The sun is dropping, so we got our shadows. We'll get those taken care of in a second. First step, early voting. Talk about, again, what you've been seeing so far in Dallas County.
Well, I tell you what, I'm real pleased with what I see in Dallas County, and frankly around the state of Texas. People are turning out on the first day. But the reality is that it's not uncommon for us to turn out on the first day. The reality is that around this country,
we've got to continuously turn out each and every day of early voting in order to maximize the number of people that we're voting. You said a few minutes ago that we've got to have at least 7 out of 10 people voting.
Yeah.
That's exactly where we need to be.
Right. I mean, again, if you look at the history, when Harris-Walz became mayor of Chicago, 85% of all eligible black people voted. Andrew Young said when he was elected to Congress, 72 to 73% of all eligible black voters in Atlanta voted.
Right.
Again, you hit those numbers, it changes the map.
That's exactly right. I mean, the reality is, and if we do it consistently, then people will get the confidence that we can, in fact, win. And just like you said, along with that other alpha, what's that other alpha's name?
Which one?
Which one? Yeah, which one? That's right.
Which one? It's a lot of them, so you pick from what? You got Dr. King, you got Thurgood Marshall. Which one you want?
Okay, yeah,
Which one you want?
Yeah. I want all of them.
Oh, you want? Okay, all right. I'm just
all
checking.
all good men.
That's true. You're right. Absolutely. You're right.
But I mean, the reality is this: we've got to have a sustained effort, and once we get that sustained effort and people see it, then it's going to be a commonplace for people to vote. But we're not there yet for some reason in 2024.
But that's why what I keep saying to folks about ground game. Our money has to be in the ground game. And I get, again, I'm not saying don't give the campaigns, but the reality is we got to have groups that are going door to door, precinct by precinct, who are canvassing our neighborhoods. Everything cannot be won with television commercials.
Well, I agree with you 100%. But, you know, again, in order, the state is the largest state of Texas, you still have to be on television.
Absolutely.
But you still have to have a ground game in the right areas in order to make sure we turn out to vote.
Well, of course, this county, 254 counties, state, 254 counties. I think Dems have parties, county Democratic Party, only about 81 or 80 some odd, and so that's also part of the issue.
It is part of the issue.
And so, which is also what I keep saying, nationally, what happened in Georgia has to happen in Texas, in Louisiana, to maximize the numbers.
Well, here's the deal. We've got to have a rural game also.
Yeah.
We just can't have an urban and a suburban game. We've got to have a rural game also until we maximize the number of locations that Democrats are in, getting volunteers in those particular areas to do the canvassing that you talked about. We're going to continue to be second class in the state of Texas and other states where we don't have the maximization.
All right, Senator Royce West, I appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. That's called the flyaway signal. That means your segment is over. That's the flyaway signal. Going to a break. We'll be right back on this Alpha Show. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Yes, my son.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems.
Oh, she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes. It just goes on and on and on. America's ready for a new chapter. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message. Wrongfully convicted.
5 teenagers were arrested, tried, convicted, and sent to prison.
No men were exonerated.
What he did to us, he tried to end us.
Of course I hate these people.
So-called Central Park 5.
Calling execution.
And let's all hate these people.
You cannot have this man go into office again.
And I want society to hate him.
We were innocent kids.
The confessions were coerced.
Today, we are exonerated. That guy says he still stands by the original guilty verdict.
This is about democracy being on the ballot.
I have absolutely no compassion.
Look at Kamala. She represents the kaleidoscope of the human family. There's something different happening in America. We will get the opportunity to build a future where we will be able to thrive and not just survive.
Jill Stein, Green Party candidate for president. So why are Trump's close allies helping her? Stein was key to Trump's 2016 wins in battleground states. She's not sorry she helped Trump win. That's why a vote for Stein is really a vote for Trump.
Jill Stein, I like her very much. You know why? She takes 100% from them.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
I get it. The cost of rent, groceries, and utilities is too high. So here's what we're going to do about it. We will lower housing costs by building more homes and crack down on landlords who are charging too much. We will lower your food and grocery bills by going after price gougers who are keeping the cost of everyday goods too high. I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message because you work hard for your paycheck. You should get to keep more of it. As president, I'll make that my top priority.
The overturning of Roe almost killed me. I had a blood clot in my uterus that caused my labor to have to be induced because of the overturn of Roe v. Wade. I wasn't able to get life-saving treatment sooner. I almost died. And that's because of the decision that Donald Trump made.
I was able to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I'm proud to have done it.
The doctors and nurses were afraid that if they treated me in the incorrect way, that they would be prosecuted for that. And that's appalling. Donald Trump says that women should be punished.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion?
There has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah.
I believe that women should have reproductive freedom to make the choices about their own bodies. 4 more years of Donald Trump means that women's rights will continue to be taken away one by one by one by one. This has to stop because women are dying.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
It's really rich for Democratic leaders to say that Donald Trump is a unique threat to democracy when he peacefully gave over power.
He is still saying he didn't lose the election. I would just ask that. Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future.
That is a damning non-answer. America, I think you've got a really clear choice of who's going to honor that democracy and who's going to honor Donald Trump.
Winners never back down from a challenge. Champions know it's anytime, any place. But losers, they whine and waffle and take their ball home.
Trump now refusing to debate a second time.
He did terribly in the last debate. He's so easily triggered by Kamala Harris.
Well, Donald, I do hope you'll reconsider to meet me on the debate stage. If you've got something to say it to my face.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Kamala Harris has never backed down from a challenge. She put cartel members and drug traffickers behind bars, and she will secure our border. Here's her plan. Hire thousands more border agents, enforce the law and step up technology, and stop fentanyl smuggling and human trafficking. We need a leader with a real plan to fix the border, and that's Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Kamala Harris has never backed down from a challenge. She put cartel members and drug traffickers behind bars, and she will secure our border. Here's her plan. Hire thousands more border agents, enforce the law and step up technology, and stop fentanyl smuggling and human trafficking. We need a leader with a real plan to fix the border, and that's Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Hello, I'm Marissa Mitchell, a news anchor at Fox 5 DC.
Hey, what's up? It's Tammy Roman, and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's bring in our panel. Dr. Makongo, being a senior professorial lecturer, School of International Service at American University, coming to us out of D.C. Dr. Julianne Malveaux, economist, president emerita Bennett College, author, Gavin Reynolds, contributor with The Root, and former speechwriter to Vice President Kamala Harris, coming to us from New Haven, Connecticut. Glad to have all three of you here. Let me just start with you, Julianne, on this whole point, and we keep emphasizing this, but it's crucial. If we would vote our numbers, black folks, we can keep talking about why they're not addressing our issues, why these things are not coming up, because we're not voting. You look at the election in Louisiana, if black people had voted our numbers, and you don't have a MAGA governor. If we vote our numbers, we control mayoral elections, we control city council elections, we control statewide elections. We talk about political gerrymandering. There is no political gerrymandering in statewide elections because you don't have these separate districts. And so that, to me, has to be our focus, maximizing our power. You ain't got no power when you sitting on the couch.
Well, absolutely, Roland. I mean, the low black turnout, and even if we get to 60, we'll be lucky. But as you said, 70% would be great. 70% would mean we could be the tail that wags the dog. 70% would be that Colin Allred could beat Ted Cruz. And we know we need Ted Cruz to go retire and do something with him. 70% would perhaps, look at Georgia. There are just so many opportunities that we're not taking. And I don't know where the brainwashing came from, but some of us just don't vote. I had a young sister actually stick her chest out me, and she said, I don't vote. Like that was something to brag about. And I just come from church, so I couldn't say too much. I try not to curse on Sundays, kind of. But I was just stunned at her, I don't vote. But there are a lot of younger people who don't think their vote makes a difference. Well, we know how votes make a difference. We know what the Orange Man did to the Supreme Court. We know what he did to our economy in terms of giving all those tax breaks to wealthy people and increasing our deficit. We can go down the list. But there are some people who are myopic. I don't know where it came from. One thing is we don't teach civics in schools anymore. That's been one of the things that was early cut. And the other thing is that, as I said, so you got these, so-called revolutionaries, like these idiots in ADOS who say they're not going to vote unless they get reparations. Well, if you don't vote, you won't get reparations. So people are just repeating nonsense. Roland, you do a service. Freddie was on the ball, as always. But we have to keep talking to our people. And I'm not sure at some point how we get them from point A to point B. We have power. Reverend Jackson used to say, hands to pick power, to pick president.
Well, Omakongo, again, this is not just, frankly, young voters. I was in line with a woman who was 54 years old, and she said, to be honest, I didn't really pay attention to politics until Trump came along. And she said, my mom died early. It really wasn't my thing. As I was telling her, I said, listen, I said, my parents have been working elections as long as you've been alive. And so we have that. But yeah, I just think that we have to have a massive voter education, civics campaign in our community after this election to understand that there are elections every single year. It's not just one. We got to be in the game in every single one of these elections.
Yeah, absolutely. And shout out to what we do here at the Black Star Network, Roland, because you've always made this a priority. When it's not an election, when it's not a midterms, you're consistently talking about this. And shout out to Latasha Brown and Cliff Albright and so many people who are just out there doing this work every single day. My hope is, when I'm seeing on these college campuses as well, is that this new generation of, when I say new generation of people who, like my daughters, voting for the presidency for the first time, I feel like with somebody like Vice President Harris on the ticket, the way that people are getting engaged, I do believe that this could be an election where we can actually start, especially if she wins, we can actually start turning the tide as it relates to staying consistent, staying engaged, understanding that it's not just about voting for president. You got to show up at every level, like with all of the guests that you had in the first part of this show. And we have to do this. And because what you said, Roland, in your segment, in your interviews earlier, when you said that they're voter suppressed states, people really need to understand that like to the woman who put their chest out in front of Dr. Malveaux, that people are actively working to make us not vote, to make us not see the interest in voting, to make us not understand our power in voting. They're targeting us with all of these ads because they understand our power. And at some point, we got to understand our power too. Like you said, the 54-year-old lady you talked to, the older people. And so when you're out there in line, Roland, that stuff's getting the replays on YouTube. You talk to those two brothers who are talking about being girl dads like myself, also have a son but 2 daughters as well. They speak for me as well. And so the more we keep telling these stories, the more we keep showing people showing up, the way people like you and others are going at celebrities who are, challenging people like Lord Jamar and people who are saying ignorant stuff. This is the time to not only stand up now, but to put something in place that's really going to have a new level of activism going forward. Because I think with Dobbs, with Trump and what's going on, people are finally starting to understand that they have to show up every time, or we're going to just keep losing.
Absolutely. Again, what I think, Gavin, what people have to understand is we're talking about power. Politics is about power. It's about controlling resources. It's about being able to have public policy, controlling the politics. And that's why people have to understand that when you check out the process, you are allowing other people to be in control of a system.
Absolutely. And when we as a community choose to keep ourselves on the sidelines, there's just no excuse for that. But what I do think this comes down to in so many ways, and Dr. Malveaux and Omokongo both hit on this, is the lack of civics education in this country. And I think this is detrimental for a number of reasons. But the fact that a lot of our people don't understand how our government works, and means that, let's say they may have voted in the past, but if they haven't seen the results that they were hoping for, without that understanding of the barriers and the roadblocks that stand in the way of making political progress in terms of at the local level, at the state level, at the federal level, what it means that we have 3 branches of government where the president can propose a bill and ultimately sign a bill, but can't just enact a bill, because he or she wishes to. I think because we don't understand that always, it makes us jaded and disenchanted with the whole process. But if we equipped our young people with the information and the knowledge of how our government works, then I think there'd be more of that recognition of, okay, I need to stay engaged, not just because with one election I didn't get everything I wanted, but I have to keep my foot on the gas, and we as a community have to do that. But Roland, it's more actually than just voting. You talk about power, and I think that hits the nail on the head, because it's more than just showing up and voting, but it's then holding our leaders accountable through our power once they get into office. And that includes by what we do with our resources as a community. Are we engaged in terms of organizing fundraisers, giving donations to candidates who advance our interests, showing up to town halls? These are all ways where we can exercise our power. And by doing that, those in power can't help but recognize the power that we have and advance our interests as a result with the power that they have. So I think it just requires a full understanding of how our process works And it requires us to be engaged, not just in terms of voting, but in terms of donating, getting involved, and showing up, not just when there's an election happening.
Indeed, indeed. All right, folks, going to go to a break. We come back. More from Dallas, Texas. Later we hear from Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, who was traveling around to various early voting sites as well. I got a chance to catch up with her, so we'll hear from her. Folks, you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network. Hey, support the work we do by joining our Bring the Funk fan club. While I was out here, let me shout out Aubrey Lee. He came by and asked me to sign his copy of White Fear, and he dropped off his donation to our show. And so I appreciate that. I had some folks who were handing me cash when I was in North Carolina, when I was in Pennsylvania, and so we appreciate all of them as well. So you can support our work. Folks, the work that we do, we don't have millionaires and billionaires sending us checks funding this. We're doing it ourselves. And so your donations play a critical role in helping us. The folks at Cash App continue to trip out with their app. So do this, send your check and money orders to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
Wrongfully convicted.
5 teenagers were arrested, tried, convicted, and sent to prison.
No men were exonerated.
What he did to us, he tried to end us.
Of course I hate these people.
So-called Central Park 5.
Calling for execution. And let's all hate these people.
You cannot have this man go into office again.
I want society to hate him.
We were innocent kids.
The confessions were coerced.
Today, we are exonerated. That guy says he still stands by the original guilty verdict.
This is about democracy being on the ballot.
I have absolutely no compassion.
Look at Kamala. She represents the kaleidoscope of the human family. There's something different happening in America. We will get the opportunity to build a future where we will be able to thrive and not just survive.
Jill Stein, Green Party candidate for president. So why are Trump's close allies helping her? Stein was key to Trump's 2016 wins in battleground states. She's not sorry she helped Trump win. That's why a vote for Stein is really a vote for Trump.
Jill Stein, I like her very much. You know why? She takes 100% from them.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Kamala Harris has never backed down from a challenge. She put cartel members and drug traffickers behind bars. And she will secure our border. Here's her plan. Hire thousands more border agents, enforce the law and step up technology, and stop fentanyl smuggling and human trafficking. We need a leader with a real plan to fix the border, and that's Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
He told us who he was.
Should abortion be punished?
There has to be some form of punishment.
Then he showed us.
For 54 years, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it, and I'm proud to have done it.
Now Donald Trump wants to go further with plans to restrict birth control, ban abortion nationwide, even monitor women's pregnancies. We know who Donald Trump is. He'll take control. We'll pay the price.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message. I get it. The cost of rent, groceries, and utilities is too high. So here's what we're going to do about it. We will lower housing costs by building more homes and crack down on landlords who are charging too much. We will lower your food and grocery bills by going after price gougers who are keeping the cost of everyday goods too high. I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message because you work hard for your paycheck. You should get to keep more of it. As president, I'll make that my top priority.
Hello, I'm Paula J. Parker. Truly proud on the Proud Family, Louder and Prouder on Disney+. And you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, how many times have I said, listen to what they say? To any black man or black woman out there considering voting for Donald Trump, this man has made it clear that he is going to allow cops to do whatever they want if he becomes president again. This is what he actually said in a recent town hall. Listen to this. Actually, this is on C-SPAN.
So, Jim, one thing we're going to be doing, and we're going to be doing it strongly, and I've wanted to do it and looked at it for a long time, but we have to do it. Immunity for some of these places. You said you have 14 people and you don't believe maybe one or two. I mean, maybe some are guilty of something, but I would bet you a lot of them aren't. And they're going through hell, and their pension's going to be gone. Frankly, their family's going to end up being gone, their car, their house, everything. So we want to do immunity. We also want to call for the death penalty for anybody killing a police officer. We'll be pressing, and thank you for your support.
We have an Attorney General that's after us right now. So.
You have I know your Attorney General.
But most of these guys that do get found innocent are bankrupt by the time.
That's right. If they're innocent, it's have no money left. That's right.
Anthony, if you don't mind.
We're going to be looking at that very strongly, though, that police officers they're doing their job. If they do their job, and if they make a mistake, even if it's a mistake, and that can happen, you were telling me, others were telling me, they have like a quarter of a second to make a decision. You would have a hard time with that. I mean, literally a quarter of a second to make a decision, and if it's the wrong decision, their life is over. And we have to help people out now. It's time, so we're going to do the immunity thing, and we're going to fight alongside of them. We have to. We have to stop being politically correct. And you're always going to have some bad apples, but they are very, very few. How many of the 14 would you say would be innocent?
Innocent, probably about 10 of them.
All right. Well,
and maybe the others are overcharged. They're still out of work.
Yeah. It's pretty tough stuff. It's happening all over.
It's very expensive to defend yourself.
Well, they're afraid to do their job, too.
Right.
They want to do their job, but they're afraid to do their job. We'll take care of it.
Congo, you see this? No regard for the people who they killed. They don't care. And so if you are considering voting for Donald Trump and you cared about George Floyd, you cared about all these other black men, and we've covered these stories over and over and over again, you heard, the guy was like, well, maybe a couple actually deserved it, but the rest of them, they really didn't. Give me a break. There was no concern, no compassion for any of the folks who have been gunned down by these cops, even though they have been convicted. Then you heard the guy say, the rest of them have been overcharged. That is what America's going to look like with Donald Trump back in charge. And black folks had better wake up.
Oh, absolutely. And even when we talk about the victims like George Floyd, we also have the living victims like the Exonerated Five, whose commercials you're running in every segment, again, showing Trump's depravity, still refusing to apologize, and the things that he did to them and that family. And look, this is also a guy who just a couple of weeks ago, what did he say at a rally? All you need is 1 hour of violence. That's all you need, and everything will be taken care of right then and there. Who do people think he's talking about as it relates to who that violence will be targeted at? This is a violent man. It's violence in his core. And when he was president, what did he try to say to his administrative people when we were protesting down in D.C.? Can't we just shoot him in the leg or something like that? This is a man who is violent at his core. And if he has an opportunity to unleash it, we are going to be the first target. And I heard the officer or whoever he was talking to, he said, how many of them are innocent? And he's like, well, innocent, right? So it's like, come on, man. It's like, this is a hustle. And this is why they continue to endorse him. They don't want to talk about having retraining, putting themselves in positions where they actually have to not escalate situations like we saw with that Miami Dolphins player. They don't want to talk about that. They want to be able to get away with anything they do as it relates to killing us or harming us in any way, shape, or form. And not to mention the white supremacists who we know are joining the military as well as the police so they can do just that. Not to mention the people who are fired and go right down the street and get hired again because we don't have the George Floyd and Policing Act, which Vice President Harris supports and has helped orchestrate when she was a senator as well. This is real. This is real. And if you don't believe anything we are saying, just go listen to Trump's words. Stop saying, well, I don't take him seriously. Take him literally at everything he says, because he means it, and he's already tried to do it. And we can't let it happen again.
I mean, Gavin, it's sitting right there. This man does not give a damn about the people who have been impacted by police violence. All he cares about are those cops, and we know cops that have been absolutely guilty. Those individuals should be in prison, and what they have done to black families is beyond despicable. He does not care.
Usually when you have a non-incumbent running for president, they throw out all these policies and promises and plans, or in the case of Donald Trump, concepts of plans, and we just have to take their word for it. We just have to listen to what they say. But with Donald Trump, we can actually look back at what he did during his 4 disastrous years in office. So let's talk about that for a minute. There's this thing called a consent decree. Roland, we've talked about this on the show before. It's a powerful tool, for those who don't know, that the Department of Justice can use to get local governments to fix problems. Education, housing, but policing is a big one. President Obama, his DOJ entered into consent decrees 15 times with local law enforcement for police-related issues. Under Trump, his first Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, effectively banned the use of these consent decrees in law enforcement contexts altogether. So against the backdrop of what he's actually saying right now about immunity and what he's done, this is the exact kind of policy that we can expect under a second Trump term. But there's more. As we've been saying time and time again on this show, Donald Trump has vowed to bring back stop and frisk, to enlist local law enforcement to enforce immigration orders, to order the National Guard to act as police officers. But let's recall what the Biden and Harris administration has actually done in terms of police reform. For all federal law enforcement, banned the use of chokeholds, called for new standards that limit the use of deadly force, expanded the Obama administration's restrictions on the transfer of military equipment to local law enforcement. And while Trump wants to rescind all of that, Kamala Harris will actually build on the progress of the past 4 years to ensure that no one is above the law. That includes the president. But that doesn't mean she's going to be soft on crime. Obviously, we all know that. No, she's actually prosecuted violent criminals, removed guns from the streets, taken down gangs, and as vice president oversaw $15 billion in investments in local law enforcement and community safety. So the contrast here, Roland, last thing I'll say is it cannot be clearer, right? With Donald Trump, it's the same old law and order for everyone but himself and those in power, including police. But with Kamala Harris, it's actually about true public safety and accountability and ensuring that no one is above the law.
Julian?
You know, the notion that this man would give police officers immunity no matter what they do, we could call the roll and talk about just Breonna Taylor. We can talk about George Floyd. We can go back and talk about the brother in Oakland who was killed. There are just so many cases where actually these officers, it wasn't that they had a snap decision to make. It was that they were careless, stupid, and racist. That's what they were. When someone picks up their taser or their gun and thinks it's their taser, how much law enforcement training have you had? When someone kills a boy, kills a young man, beats him to death, really. I mean, we have so many cases like that. And so, and not to mention the exonerated 5 and the vitriol with which he went after them back then when the Central Park case happened. They've been exonerated, but he won't acknowledge that. And this whole, innocent or innocent. Come on, dude. You think you innocent, even though you have 34 felonies. So let's just be clear. As always, Donald Trump is talking out of both sides of his mouth. On one hand, he's saying immunity. On the other hand, he said, well, there's some bad apples. Which is, and should people who are bad apples be forced to bear the consequences of their actions? Gavin is absolutely right in making the contrast between the 45th president and the administration of the 46th president and vice president. The contrast is extremely clear. But Roland, I'm just confused, and I'm not often confused. But
well, I'm not. Well, first of all, I'm not confused because he doesn't care about regular, ordinary people. He's shown exactly who he is, and so that's just a fact. So
I'm confused about these black people who somehow are so delusional.
I'm not.
Something.
I'm not. I'm not. There are people who only give a damn about themselves. And they say, well, hey, guess what? That's not me. Yeah, but what they're saying is that's not me. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be doing something to a cop. So hey, he ain't talking to me. That's what you're dealing with. But what they better understand is, trust me. But they don't understand that every single one of those families every single family that's been impacted never thought that they would actually be impacted. I got to go to a break. We come back. We got to talk about Vice President Kamala Harris's housing proposal compared to Donald Trump's housing plan. Oh, I'm sorry. He doesn't have one. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network live from Friendship West Baptist Church here in Dallas, the first day for early voting in Texas. I'll be right back.
IVF is a miracle for us because it allowed us to have our family. After having my daughter, I wanted more children, but my embryo transfer was canceled 8 days before the procedure. Donald Trump overturning Roe v. Wade stopped us from growing the family that we wanted. I don't want politicians telling me how or when I can have a baby. We need a president that will protect our rights, and that's Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Bob and I both voted for Donald Trump.
I voted for him twice. I won't vote for him again. January 6th was a wake-up call for me.
Donald Trump divides people. We've already seen what he has to bring.
He didn't do anything to help us. Kamala Harris, she cares about the American people. I think she's got the wherewithal to make a difference. I've never voted for a Democrat.
Yes, we're both lifelong Republicans.
The choice is very simple.
I'm voting for Kamala.
I am voting for Kamala Harris.
The overturning of Roe almost killed me. I had a blood clot in my uterus that caused my labor to have to be induced because of the overturn of Roe v. Wade. I wasn't able to get life-saving treatment sooner. I almost died. And that's because of the decision that Donald Trump made.
I was able to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I'm proud to have done it.
The doctors and nurses were afraid that if they treated me in the incorrect way, that they would be prosecuted for that. And that's appalling. Donald Trump says that women should be punished.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion?
There has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah.
I believe that women should have reproductive freedom to make the choices about their own bodies. 4 more years of Donald Trump means that women's rights will continue to be taken away one by one by one by one. This has to stop because women are dying.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shooting.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys. This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
IVF is a miracle for us because it allowed us to have our family. After having my daughter, I wanted more children, but my embryo transfer was canceled 8 days before the procedure. Donald Trump overturning Roe v. Wade stopped us from growing the family that we wanted. I don't want politicians telling me how or when I can have a baby. We need a president that will protect our rights, and that's Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kim Coles.
Hey, I'm Donnie Simpson.
Yo, it's your man Dion Cole from Blackish, and you watch
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered here on the Black Star Network. Let's talk about housing. There's a stark contrast between Vice President Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Harris actually has a housing plan. Donald Trump doesn't even have concepts. He literally has nothing. We're going to play for you in a bit a soundbite with my interview with Vice President Kamala Harris a week ago. Let me right now, though, let's go to my next guest, David Dworkin, the President and CEO of the National Housing Conference, who joins us from Washington, D.C. David, appreciate it. Have you actually seen a housing plan from Donald Trump? Because I haven't.
Well, I'd rather talk about her plan because it's actually one of the most detailed housing plans I've ever seen out of a candidate.
Oh, yeah. No. We absolutely going to talk about her plan, but I'm starting out by making the point she actually has one. I haven't seen one from him, and it reminds me of 2012, David. I'll never forget, I'm on CNN, the Republican National Convention, and I get into this thing with John King, and he's like, well, no, Mitt Romney has a housing plan, and I'm like, dude, he doesn't. I literally wrote a column on it last week, and then Anderson Cooper's like, well, we'll sort it out. I'm like, no, we're not going to sort it out. I'm telling you, he doesn't have one. We go to the commercial break, they come back, and I go, hey, during the break, I checked, he ain't got one. And so, and this is one of the most fundamental issues that impacting the country right now. People are complaining about high rent. When I interviewed the vice president, everybody keeps talking about the $25,000. I think the major part of her plan is the building of 3 million units because we have a deficit of housing stock in America.
Well, that's absolutely right. And the reality is that the two major proposals that she has in her plan already have significant bipartisan support. And one of them, building more affordable rental housing, actually passed the Republican-controlled House of Representatives. And we need to get these bills passed and have the president sign them so that we can build those homes. That is the core issue for housing prices. It's the law of supply and demand. We just don't have enough houses. We need to build a lot more. And I've heard you talk about it in the past. You get it. I mean, since the Great Recession, we have not built nearly enough homes, millions short. And the other piece of this is that we also lost a lot of home builders in the Great Recession, and we haven't really replaced that capacity. So we need to create more homes. We also need to build more companies and jobs. And frankly, that's where, everybody needs to step up. And there's a huge opportunity to become a home builder these days, especially if you're already doing home repair or renovation.
In fact, during the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, ALC, I ran into a sister who's actually building micro homes on 75 acres in Alabama because this is an opportunity. I know of some churches that are looking to do the exact same thing. And so people are looking at creating different opportunities from traditional home builders.
Yes, and there are churches around the country. I've been working with black churches for over 30 years on housing issues. And in Detroit and other cities around the country, people are really making a difference. They already own some land. They have experience in development. There's a lot of moving parts to building a church, and they have credibility in the community, and that's a really big deal.
I guess what's frustrating to me, David, is like, again, my question off the top. All I keep hearing from these mainstream media outlets is like, where are her policies? Where are her policies? Where are her policies? And so here's one that she laid out, and they act like, okay, it doesn't exist. And I'm sitting there going, this is real. This is a fundamental problem. And again, I keep showing that chart that we built the fewest number of homes between 2010 and 2020 since the 1940s. That's real. So you got increase in demand, and the price is going up, and it's crazy.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I have to say that we're a nonpartisan organization, but anybody who knows housing will look at that plan that she put out there and say, this is the most detailed housing plan from a presidential candidate in history. And she lays it out. She says exactly what she's for. Two of the major housing supply engines are already in bills and just ready to pass. So it's pretty impressive. And the other thing I'll just note is that, and you don't hear this talked about nearly enough, but we lost a horrific number of Black home owners during the Great Recession. And anybody who lives in a community that's predominantly people of color, they know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's a tragedy. Just a few years ago, the home ownership rate for Black Americans was lower than it was in 1968 when the Fair Housing Act was passed.
Yep.
And so we've got to move that number. It's one of the reasons we created the Black Home Ownership Collaborative, 3by30.org. And we work with the National Urban League, the NAACP, but also realtists and realtors and mortgage bankers and fair housing advocates and community development groups to build Black home ownership, because that's how we build wealth. And I don't have to tell you that. You know that as well as anybody. I hear it on your show.
Well, I'll tell you what, and I know somebody watching right now that may think I'm crazy what I'm about to say, but the home I bought here in the Dallas area, 1999, I got it for $122,100. And I would say, property taxes probably was $2,500, $2,700, $2,800, something like that. Well, because of this demand, and I'm about to say, people may think I'm crazy. One of the reasons the numbers shows how wealth is increased is because home prices have soared. The same house today, I believe when I last checked, it's around $320,000, the value of the home. Property taxes are close to $8,000, okay? And the reason that number has shot up is because of the lack of housing. I have gotten calls, text messages, phone calls, damn near every day. And because my parents are on the same plan, my sister gets them, my dad gets them, my mom gets them, my wife gets them. And my answer is, no, I ain't selling. My parents are retired, they live in my home. And my niece lives there as well. But I'm like, no, this is what's going on. And so, yes, if you add stock, it might actually bring the housing, it might bring, of course, the value of housing prices down, but it's also going to alleviate all of the pain people are suffering. You know, and again, thank God I own that home. If my parents and my niece and her husband had to live in apartments right now, I can't even imagine what they would be paying combined to be renters as compared to, frankly, living in my house rent-free.
That's exactly right. And, you know, the difference is, and there's nothing wrong with renting when that's the right thing for you, but when you're owning a home and you're paying your mortgage, you're paying your rent to yourself. And that's why it's such a major engine of growing wealth, is because the payment you're making to live is also your investment payment, and you can't get that with any other kind of investment.
Last point here, again, we talk about in terms of what we're seeing. Talk about how serious this problem is with private equity, estimated to own 40% of all single-family homes by the year 2030. That's just a little more 5 years away. That is unbelievable.
Well, we have to be careful when we look at trend lines. A lot of these companies are moving into build to rent, and we need more rental properties. I don't care whether you build them side by side or stack them on top of each other. What I've got a real problem with is when people are in neighborhoods buying up all the homes off of the multiple listing service, and home buyers can't compete with that cash. And that's the thing we need to really pay attention to. And we've worked with some of these companies to say, you know, y'all need to be selling those homes not to other investors, but into the market and for first-time home buyers. it's also true that this is one of the areas where the Harris plan and certainly J.D. Vance's attitudes about housing converge. And the reality is that there's a reason why people have been so worked up about this, and it's because folks who want to be homeowners have been struggling to compete. And it's not an even playing field. And we need to help folks become homeowners.
Yeah. Well, I've been covering this, and I tell you, I mean, people thought I was crazy in 2009 when I was on the CNN, when I was like, yo, don't let these banks off the hook with these toxic assets, because what happened? We bailed them out. They took the money, took care of their bottom line. They held onto those homes and then turned around and sold 25,000 lots to private equity, and a regular, ordinary person who was waiting to buy their own home, they couldn't compete with that.
Yeah, we need to do better. And I also just want to say, I really appreciate your leadership and certainly appreciate you having me on the show. But this is something that everybody's got to be thinking and talking about. And I will also say, if you own your own home and somebody calls you saying, I want to give you cash for that home, you should think about that, because there's a reason they're coming there and trying to offer you that. And talk to your family, talk to your pastor, talk to people you trust, because nobody gives you something for free. And we need to take care of ourselves and protect our wealth. And that's, I think, your listeners are good at that. But in housing, it just is, sometimes it's just hard to focus on the way I might think about other stuff.
Yep.
And that's your most important asset, frankly.
And then also what's happening is you have a lot of children, when their parents pass away, grandparents pass away, they don't want to live there. And so what do? Just offload it to anybody, and then we see what happens when you do that. And so it is an asset, and I can just tell you this from personal experience, having multiple generations, but by my parents, different nieces, nephew, going through my home, again, that has actually been greatly beneficial to my family, because they're not having to spend that $15, $18, $2, $25, $3,000 a month renting. They can actually get their life together and be able to save that money and then move on. And so that's also how we have to think about, when you own a home, how it also can extend to your family.
Yeah. You know, I'm always a little offended when people talk about financial literacy, because it implies that people are financially illiterate. And if you're paying your bills off the back porch in cash, you definitely have a financial literacy issue. But what we're talking about here is wealth growth and wealth management. And that's the key. And folks need to get past that and say, you know what, I'm really talking about how I'm going to grow where I am today. And home ownership is going to be a big part of that.
Absolutely. David, we certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much. And we'll be sure to have you back.
Thank you, sir.
All right, folks, this is the part of the interview I did with Vice President Harris, where she talked about her housing plan. Roll it.
Housing piece, because what I think is not being talked about, the building of new housing stock.
Yes.
And so because of the home foreclosure crisis, we literally built under 9 or 10 million homes in 2010, 2020. We're underbuilt now as well. The fewest homes being built since the 1940s.
Yes.
So a huge part of this problem with housing is that we don't have the stock. So talk about that piece there, because you've got demand, but you don't actually have right now the available homes.
So, and I'm glad you actually presented the point the way you did, because let's also go back to what you know in my history on this in terms of being Attorney General. When I took on the big banks, and because they were doing predatory lending, and a lot of the folks who were targeted with that predatory lending were black folks who are being told, oh, you don't need to worry about it. We're going to give you this money. And so you can buy a home without actually doing the analysis to figure out if they'd be able to afford to pay it back, right? And folks trusted the banks that if you're going to loan me the money, then you must have determined I have the ability to actually, be able to see it through. And the foreclosure rates for black homeowners during that crisis.
53% of black wealth wiped out.
That's exactly right, Roland. I took on and sued the big banks and ended up delivering $20 billion for the homeowners of California. The former President Obama recently mentioned the fact that I actually took on the Department of Justice and the administration saying, I'm not going to do a deal that brings crumbs to the table.
But not just when you're Attorney General, because even right now, the DOJ, Civil Rights Division, the redlining lawsuits, mortgage discrimination.
We have been taking all of it on. Mortgage discrimination, also discrimination in home appraisals. We've taken on the fact that, you know, those stories about a black family is trying to get their home appraised. They want to get a second mortgage, they want to sell the house, whatever. And they bring in the appraiser. The appraiser looks around, looks at the family pictures, and appraises it for less than it's worth. The family knows that. They're not stupid.
The black folks got to remove photos,
so
books,
then they
DVDs,
remove photos and everything else, right? They remove
all the blackness.
All of that. And then they ask a white family that's a friend of theirs, come in, they put up their pictures, and the house gets appraised for more. Racial bias, we're taking that on for the first time. And I want to give due credit to former Secretary of HUD, Marcia Fudge, for being a leader on that. These are the things we've taken on. And as president, to your point about supply, I'm going to create tax incentives for home builders and developers to build 3 million new housing units by the end of my first term, because a big part of jacking up the prices has been the supply is not meeting demand, so the prices are higher. And when you couple that with $25,000 down payment assistance, we have the ability to give people the opportunity to achieve what generations before called the American dream, but which has been out of reach for too many people. My work around thinking about how it's going to directly impact black folks is knowing that when you look at racial bias in home appraisals, when you look at the disproportionate rates of black home ownership to other people having home ownership, it's too low. And it's not because we don't aspire to have a home or buy a home. My work is about looking at small businesses, knowing they're the backbone of our economy in the neighborhood, in communities, and giving folks an extension of a tax deduction so it's not just $5,000 for a startup small business, but $50,000, because nobody can start up a small business on $5,000.
I'm glad you mentioned small business. I was talking to a black restaurant owner in Houston, and we were talking about the corporate tax rate. Yeah. And one of the things that he said was...
All right, that was the housing portion, my interview with Vice President Kamala Harris. All right, got to go to a break. We come back, black and missing. Also, we'll talk about the exonerated 5 suing Donald Trump. We'll tell you why. And the Breonna Taylor, the retrial, the federal charges against the cops involved in her death begin today. We'll give you those details as well. Folks, we're broadcasting live, Roland Martin Unfiltered, on the Black Star Network here from Friendship West Baptist Church in Dallas. The first day of early voting in Texas. We'll be right back.
Wrongfully convicted.
5 teenagers were arrested, tried, convicted, and sent to prison.
No men were exonerated.
What he did to us, he tried to end us.
Of course I hate these people.
So-called Central Park 5.
Calling for execution.
And let's all hate these people.
You cannot have this man go into office again.
I want society to hate him.
We were innocent kids.
The confessions were coerced.
Today, we are exonerated. That guy says he still stands by the original guilty verdict.
This is about democracy being on the ballot.
I have absolutely no compassion.
Look at Kamala. She represents the kaleidoscope of the human family. There's something different happening in America. We will get the opportunity to build a future where we will be able to thrive and not just survive.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems.
Oh, she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes. It just goes on and on and on. America's ready for a new chapter. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Bob and I both voted for Donald Trump.
I voted for him twice. I won't vote for him again. January 6th was a wake-up call for me.
Donald Trump divides people. We've already seen what he has to bring.
He didn't do anything to help us. Kamala Harris, she cares about the American people. I think she's got the wherewithal to make a difference. I've never voted for a Democrat.
Yes, we're both lifelong Republicans.
The choice is very simple.
I'm voting for Kamala.
I am voting for Kamala Harris.
I get it. The cost of rent, groceries, and utilities is too high. So here's what we're going to do about it. We will lower housing costs by building more homes and crack down on landlords who are charging too much. We will lower your food and grocery bills by going after price gougers who are keeping the cost of everyday goods too high. I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message because you work hard for your paycheck. You should get to keep more of it. As president, I'll make that my top priority.
What's good, y'all? This is Doug E. Fresh, and you're watching my brother Roland Martin Unfiltered as we go a little something like this. Hit it. It's real.
All right, folks, our Black and Missing, we really hate when we have to do these stories, but Avery Potts, folks, has been missing from Dallas, Texas. Avery is 5 feet 10 inches tall, weighs 175 pounds. Hair is black, eyes are brown. If you have any information, please call the Dallas Police Department, 214-744-4444. Again, that is a 214-744-4444. And so we really hope you have any information because, again, too many of our folks go up missing and don't get the attention they rightfully deserve from police, but also from national media. And so, man, she's been missing since June 3rd. All right, folks, the exonerated 5, okay? They are suing Donald Trump for defamation. They filed this lawsuit because of his comments at a presidential debate about their wrongful conviction. The 5 Black and Hispanic teenagers were wrongfully convicted of the 1989 rape and assault of a woman jogging in Central Park. They spent years in prison before their convictions were overturned in 2002, once the true culprit confessed and was corroborated by DNA evidence. The lawsuit notes the 5 members never pled guilty and the victim wasn't killed, claiming Trump's comments were made with a reckless disregard for their falsity to the tens of millions of Americans who tune into the debate. I'll be chatting with one of the attorneys tomorrow who filed the lawsuit. Here's what's crazy to me about this here, Gavin. In the lawsuit, one of the young men, Yusef Salaam, says that he went up to Trump at a debate and in the spin room, and Trump says, "Oh, you must be one of my supporters." He says, "No, I'm not." And he said, "Would you apologize?" And Trump just sort of just waved him off and kept moving. The fact that Trump, and man, remember the last election, Trump doubled down and did not apologize for taking that full-page ad out and insisted that they were still guilty.
Yeah, look, this is just further evidence of how Donald Trump sees us as Black people. So let me talk to those Black folks at home who are still deciding who to vote for or whether to vote at all, right? Donald Trump, since the I don't remember what year this was, but Central Park 5, now exonerated 5, took out a full-page ad to have them executed via the death penalty. How did he come onto the scene when he ran for president in 2016? By promoting racist lies about Barack Obama being born in Africa, not being born here in the United States, which he obviously was. By talking about people from Haiti as coming from shithole countries, by saying there are very fine people on both sides of a Unite the Right rally, which featured white supremacist KKK members. He's referred to us as thugs. He told the Proud Boys, white supremacists, to stand back and stand by. But it's not just how he sees it, it's how he treats us in terms of his policies. We've talked about on this show how over the 4 years that Donald Trump was in office, the policies that he put in place when it comes to criminal justice and how the Department of Justice was utilized, seeking to strip away health care from many, many Black Americans by putting justices onto the Supreme Court who have now been responsible for overturning Roe v. Wade, which has already had and which will continue to have detrimental impacts on Black women in terms of furthering the maternal health and maternal mortality crisis that we have in this country. And of course, those same justices who have helped get rid of affirmative action. So again, the fact that Donald Trump continues to spew this racist rhetoric, these lies about the now exonerated 5, fits into a broader pattern of who Donald Trump is. And as we know, when someone shows you who they are, you better doggone believe them.
Well, Julian, I'm glad to see them file this lawsuit because he needs to be held accountable for these reckless comments.
Absolutely. I mean, he behaves as he's above the law. He's done that consistently throughout his life, actually, failing to rent to Black folks when he was a landlord in Queens. And we could go through his failing to pay people he's contracted with, and then he just decides randomly, well, I'll just pay you this amount. There was a gentleman who was a piano somebody or other, and he ordered 5 pianos and then paid him for 3 and told him, you can sue me for the rest of it. His small vendor didn't have the money to sue him, so he got away with it. He gets away with it time and time and time again. Jean Carroll is waiting for her money, and now the exonerated 5 will be waiting for theirs too, because they're absolutely right to sue him. He has taken them and he's used them as a bulletin board for so-called Black criminality. They never pled guilty. We repeat, they never pled guilty. So I hope their lawyer was on someplace today. He seemed good. And this is a case that he cannot dismiss this if he's elected. We pray that he's not elected, but if he is, he can't dismiss this one. He might be able to dismiss the federal, but he can't dismiss this.
Yep, absolutely. Makongo.
You know, watching the pictures of the actual trial when it happened that you were showing, it just made me think of the weight of what these brothers had to deal with in 89, 90, like that picture there. I mean, it's one thing when you have police falsely accuse you and all of that, the forced confessions, that's always happened. But then you have a guy like Trump, who on many levels was, you know, one of the most important figures, or at least famous figures in New York at the time, coming at you. And the fact that they were able to sustain that and come out the way they are now, I know just all of the issues that I hear in the interviews and the like. And so I'm really happy that they are still standing, that they are still strong, and that they're able to go after him right now. Some people would just say, I just want to get on with my life. That time's over. I forgive. But and maybe they would have if he didn't do what he did in the debate. And he's never going to stop. So just like as Dr. Malvo said with E. Jean Carroll, people have to do this work to shut him up and shut him out. And so I hope that they get every penny. But look, this is a guy who gets lots of charges thrown at him and gets convicted and so on and so forth, doesn't serve jail time, doesn't pay the fines, you know. And so I'm just hoping that we got to win so that these cases can continue. But I'm just really proud of what these brothers and their families have done and what they're continually doing with their lives and getting out there in this public space. And let's lastly remember that the woman who was actually raped endured a lot of this, in terms of there was someone who was actually who didn't want to confess to this, right? And so he lived his life, you know, in prison as well. But I think that there's a lot of victims in this, and I'm just really happy that they're actually going after Trump right now. And I hope that they get everything that they deserve and he gets everything he deserves.
Let's go to Kentucky, where opening statements started on today in the federal retrial of former Louisville Metro Police Officer Brett Hankinson. Hankinson is charged with violating the civil rights of Breonna Taylor and others for his actions during a botched raid at her home in 2020. The jury consists of 8 women and 7 men. All the jurors are white, except for 1 black man. It's the same racial makeup in Hankinson's trial last fall, which ended in a mistrial. If convicted, Hankinson faces life in prison. We talk about this all the time on Makongo. This is a perfect example. This is what happens when you have an aggressive Department of Justice Civil Rights Division. That was a mistrial. They could have easily said, you know what, we're not going to retry them. Well, Kristen Clark's Civil Rights Division said, no, we are going to retry him to get justice for Breonna Taylor.
And I'm just going to say that should Kamala win, I'm hoping that Kristen Clark I think he becomes the Attorney General. I mean, I know it's a whole Justice Department, so on and so forth, but this is powerful. This Justice Department, sometimes we feel like they take long with the insurrection and so on and so forth, but with these cases, they have been very serious. They have been very diligent in what they are doing, and they're not speaking up enough about it, because that's just not what they do. But we need to speak up about it, because so many of us have this mindset of, oh, well, nothing's going to happen. People get off all of the time. And that type of mindset even prevents us from wanting to file charges when something less egregious happens, as what happened with Breonna. And so this needs to be publicized in all of our spaces, and this needs to be talked about, because we can't just look at, Breonna Taylor's life and just think that it's over just because some people didn't get charged or some other folks got fired because of a shot that went through someone else's apartment. Her life was real. Her story is real. I met her mom. Her family is real. And I appreciate the fact that the Justice Department has not let this go, and so many of the other cases. And when you have a guy with Trump's bombast trying to do everything he can to support the police and talk about everything he's going to do with immunity and the like, we need to see that the Justice Department that is active right now is not letting these cases go. So kudos to Kristen Clark, kudos to Merrick Garland and the Justice Department on this.
And Gavin, this is exactly why when you have an aggressive Department of Justice, they do this type of thing. Again, I don't think for a second that a Donald Trump, Jeff Sessions, Bill Barr, DOJ will give a damn about the life of Breonna Taylor, and they likely would have never even charged this cop.
Absolutely not. Never would have. And look, it's worth saying Breonna Taylor should be alive today. And I think it's one of the gravest miscarriages of justice that we've ever seen, that Daniel Cameron, a black man, when he was Attorney General of Kentucky, had the chance to indict those officers for homicide in her death and chose not to. That made me all the more pleased to see his ass lose to Andy Bashir, but I digress. I know, look, to all of those, again, those black folks who are really not feeling it this election cycle, let me tell you, I know it can feel like at times that the president doesn't do much, that the decisions that most impact our lives are made at the state level or the local level. And yes, it's important that we recognize that state and local elections matter, but Roland, you are so right. Who is president determines the cases that the Department of Justice brings through the network of U.S. attorneys that exist, or the cases that they will not bring. Because we know these cases often do end up being somewhat political decisions, and the decision to bring a federal case against these officers would have never, as you said, Roland, been brought or been made during a Donald Trump presidency.
Julian?
I think Gavin's point is really important regarding who would bring cases when. Kirsten Clark has done a brilliant job. She's gone after people with full aggression, gone after folks, not just individual officers, but jurisdictions for their continued racism. And so this is really important, but who has that position? Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, that is very important too. So we have to look at this. If we didn't learn anything else, we should have learned about the Supreme Court. Your appointments matter. And if you look at Project 2025, in addition to proposing elimination of many departments, there's also a whole pipeline in terms of appointments. They're already soliciting resumes as if they want. They're soliciting resumes, and what they're looking for is some more of those reprobates like the Supreme Court that they found.
All right, folks, hold tight 1 second. When we come back, we're going to hear from Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, who visited a number of early voting locations here in Dallas County today, the first day of early voting here in Dallas County. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network, live from Friendship West Baptist Church here in Dallas. Back in a moment.
IVF is a miracle for us because it allowed us to have our family. After having my daughter, I wanted more children. But my embryo transfer was canceled 8 days before the procedure. Donald Trump overturning Roe v. Wade stopped us from growing the family that we wanted. I don't want politicians telling me how or when I can have a baby. We need a president that will protect our rights, and that's Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Kamala Harris has never backed down from a challenge. She put cartel members and drug traffickers behind bars. And she will secure our border. Here's her plan. Hire thousands more border agents, enforce the law and step up technology, and stop fentanyl smuggling and human trafficking. We need a leader with a real plan to fix the border, and that's Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Jill Stein, Green Party candidate for president. So why are Trump's close allies helping her? Stein was key to Trump's 2016 wins in battleground states. She's not sorry she helped Trump win. That's why a vote for Stein is really a vote for Trump.
Jill Stein, I like her very much. You know why? She takes 100% from them.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
It's really rich for Democratic leaders to say that Donald Trump is a unique threat to democracy when he peacefully gave over power.
He is still saying he didn't lose the election. I would just ask that. Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future.
That is a damning non-answer. America, I think you've got a really clear choice of who's going to honor that democracy and who's going to honor Donald Trump.
Hi, I am Tommy Davidson. I play Oscar on Proud Family, Louder and Prouder. I don't play Sammy, but I could. Or I don't play Obama, but I could. I don't do Stallone, but I could do all that. And I am here with Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
Hey, tap the photo. All right, folks. I'm here in Dallas. I'm here in Dallas County. Here at Friendship West Baptist Church, and earlier today, I actually went to a variety of polling locations here with Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. She was also with Dee Dee in the mornings as they travel around talking to various people. And so I had a chance to catch up with her. They started at Lancaster High School with the students who did a stroll to the polls. And I caught up with her here at Friendship West. We talked about this election. Stops in Dallas County. Has been great turnout all day.
Yes, it has been. I'm really excited. We know that Texas 30 is fired up. In fact, Texas 30 has the second highest voter turnout district in the state, and I'm coming for that #1 spot. So I am so excited to see that my constituents are showing up on day one and they are willing to stand in line, get chairs, or do whatever it takes, because this election matters just that much.
Folks, they've been having you all over the place. You've been living on planes.
Yes.
Let's talk about what you've been seeing and hearing across the country.
Yeah, it's been really positive, but for me, I tell them to send me into the areas in which they can't send other people into. So I just had a situation in Vegas where 2 young men showed up in MAGA hats and tried to, come at me. But listen, we know where the policy lies, and we know where the lies lie. And so I was able to do my good black job and make sure I explained the difference between a Harris-Walz administration and a Trump-Vance administration. Overall, though, I feel like the momentum is on our side. We just need to keep pushing, and we need to keep the focus on the real issues. And the real issues look like the fact that women in this country have become second-rate citizens in specific states. And if the Republicans have their way, then this Trump Supreme Court, and if Trump somehow gets into the White House, then this will be across the entire country. So don't think that just because you're in New York or California or somewhere where they have actually decided to recognize that we should have rights over our bodily autonomy, that you are safe. That is what's on the line. So make sure that you get out and vote. And honestly, we need somebody. Everybody's talking about economics. My question is, where is his economic plan? All I've heard, I ain't even really heard concepts of a plan when it comes to the economics of it, but we know that Vice President Harris is looking to make sure that that black wealth gap is actually starting to continue to shutter, because we know under this administration it's actually been decreasing. But we know with the policies that they're trying to put in place, continuing those Trump tax cuts, that's only going to put us into a worse situation. So make sure you get out and vote. Whatever your issue is, just Google Project 2025 and your issue. And if you like what it says, then vote for the orange one. But if you don't like what it says, then you know that Harris-Walz is the ticket for you.
And I gotta ask you, it has to tick you off as a female politician to see a presidential candidate stand on stage and talk about a pro-golfer's genitalia and national media act like it's no big deal. I mean, if a woman candidate did that, if Vice President Kamala Harris did that, these folks would be losing their minds. It goes to show you how they have just normalized crazy.
Yeah, I don't even know what to characterize it as. I will say that it is clear that somebody is enjoying a privilege that the other candidate is not. This person said years ago that he could go and kill somebody and avoid prosecution, and now we have his Supreme Court that basically said, yes, I will go ahead and give you immunity to break the law and do whatever you want to do. Listen, this is the party of lawlessness. They look at our black skin and they think that it existing in and of itself is breaking the law when it's not. And so they have decided to criminalize our blackness. They have decided to criminalize our diversity and decide to go after diversity, equity, and inclusion and things like that. But the real crime here is allowing a man who's not even allowed to operate a business in the state of New York to have the audacity and a shot at operating the largest and best country in the world. It does not make sense. That we know that they continue to move the bar and raise the bar when it comes to my vice president. But let me tell you something, she always rises to the occasion. She even decided that she would go into the belly of the beast and go on Fox News, and then went in and went off on the guy that was interviewing her. So let me tell you, there's only one person that is strong in this race, because as you started off this question, being strong has nothing to do with genitalia. It has everything to do with having character and the ability to lead. And there is only one person in this race, and it just happens to be a woman who has the character that we need to lead us on day one.
And I'm about to get one of these shirts to rock on the show.
That's right. We're gonna get you one before you leave.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to do this here.
I ain't even realized he rolled up, y'all. My petty pastor here, y'all.
You said your petty pastor?
My petty pastor.
Hold on, this is Bishop Roland Martin. Bishop Roland Martin preached at your church yesterday. He preached at your church yesterday. Acted like
still in North Carolina.
Like he need another job. You doing good with this
I'm good. I'm good.
This is the only job.
I told you I'm bootleg.
But Doc, I thank God for this, the courage of this sister right here, because in too many instances, our Democrats have not had a spine to talk back and clap back. This is Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett don't mind telling it like it is. She knows the rules, because the metaphor of that infamous and famous clapback to old girl in Georgia was the fact that she was basically saying, okay, so you're gonna talk bad about me. Let me survey the rules, because I do my homework, which is what black women do. I do my homework, and then in a real slick Delta diva fashion, clap back on her, and you ain't heard a word from that woman since. Why? Because that's really what it means. For me, Jasmine Crockett showed us that if we have the spine to clap back at injustice, clap back at racism, white supremacy, toxic masculinity. I'm clapping back at a clown who got hit too many times in the head, and so he wears a shirt that disparages a black woman. His mama's a black woman, and had the nerve to wear a shirt like that in support of someone who does not mind bragging about grabbing women by their private parts. And you got the nerve to wear a shirt like that? I'm clapping back at you because you've had too many hits to the head playing football, and maybe you need to go ahead and get yourself some real therapy and get yourself for some help to talk about a black woman like that. And so my thing is, this election is our time, Roland, to clap back against injustice and clap back against the last 10 years of political violence and lying from a pathological liar. And we clapping back not only at Agent Orange, but up and down the ballot, because Agent Orange is trying to infect people up and down the ballot. And I don't want Kamala Harris to, on January 20th, when she holds up her hand and Ketanji Jackson administers the oath of office on the King holiday. Listen, that's Ketanji, that's Kamala, and that's King, a new KKK, because we clapping back against injustice.
Oh, come on now, Pastor Haynes. Okay, I'm sorry. Who are we waiting for? I'll be waiting for him. Oh my goodness.
See what happens when y'all let a preacher get near a camera. Great job there, Pastor Freddie Haynes. Y'all can already tell. So first of all, the polling location here is closed. It is now after 7 o'clock. It is 2 minutes after. Of course, the sun is setting, and so it's not jet black. So doing this is not jet black, but the sun is setting here. It's going down here in Dallas. A great day here, and so it was great seeing so many folks who were here. Yesterday, I had an opportunity. Freddie was at Rankin Chapel at Howard University doing their homecoming service, and so he asked me to do 10 o'clock service. So I preached yesterday's sermon. Y'all can go to our YouTube channel. Keenan is actually going to restream that tonight, so y'all can check it out. And so I preached from Judges 4. I said from Deborah to Kamala, God anointing women to lead. So y'all want to check that out. Let me thank Gavin Julian Omakongo for being on today's show. Thank you so very much. Actually, before we go, we have lost folks in Ancestor. And let me do this real quick. One of the Little Rock Nine has passed away. Of course, one of the Little Rock Nine who integrated Little Rock High School in 1957. Thelma Mothershed Ware died Saturday at a hospital in Little Rock after having complications from multiple sclerosis. She was 83 years old. Ware and the other students who integrated Central High School were known as the Little Rock Nine. For 3 weeks in September 1957, Arkansas Governor Orville Farbus used the National Guard to block the black students from enrolling in Central High. 3 years after the U.S. Supreme Court declared segregated classrooms to be unconstitutional, it was President Dwight D. Eisenhower who sent members of the Army's 101st Airborne Division to escort the students into school on September 25th, 1957. And so Thelma Mothershed Ware is now an ancestor, one of the Little Rock Nine. Folks, that is it for us. I'll be back in D.C. tomorrow, and of course in Brooklyn on Wednesday. Edward Waters University, we broadcasted live on Thursday from Jacksonville, so looking forward to that. Folks, don't forget, you see the sticker here. Yes, I did vote, but please use your power. We are seeing a big turnout, but again, I keep saying we need maximum turnout for African Americans everywhere across the country. Do not sit at home. Do not sit on your couch. Use your power, because you cannot complain about stuff and then not vote. It's as simple as that. And I know there's some people out there. I had a brother on Instagram saying no reparations, no vote. Let me remind you, politicians vote on that. You need 218 votes in the House, 60 in the Senate, a president to sign it. It's going to get sued. You need federal judges who are going to agree with you. You get a right-wing Supreme Court. If Donald Trump wins, he'll appoint 2 more Republicans to the Supreme Court. They will control the Supreme Court for the next 40 years. So sit your ass at home. You're guaranteed you will never get reparations. So do understand what politics is all about. Again, folks, be sure we'll see you tomorrow from Washington, D.C. And more as we break down. We're now less than, tomorrow it'll be actually 2 weeks until Election Day. So we're at 16 days. And so a lot can happen between now and November 5th. And so maximize your right to vote. Folks, don't forget, join our Bring the Funk fan club. Oh, Brother Leary just walked up to me while we were here and gave me his donation. I told y'all this happens. Give me 1 second. Daryl Howard just walked here, gave me his donation. So send your check and money order to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. And also get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, available bookstores nationwide. Get the audio version on Audible. All right, folks, live from Friendship West Baptist Church in Dallas. I will see y'all tomorrow. Holla! Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?